so don't panic, okay?
Okay.
All right, everybody, next time I see you, we have a test. So, what we are going to do right now is get out practice test 3 and work through it together. Now, it is not ideal that I don't see you tomorrow. So it's going to be up to you to get your practice tests back out tomorrow, maybe tomorrow night, and work through, just pick one of them, they're all the same. Pick one of them and work through it again on your own. When you walk out of this room today, all of these are going to be done. That doesn't mean you're done with them. Get it back out, go back through, practice, practice, practice. Especially if there are problems that you're not real comfortable with. It is so easy to watch Mrs. Ford do the problems. So easy. But when you have to do it all by yourself, sometimes it's not that easy. Okay? All right, so here we go. We're on practice test 3, which you'll notice looks just like practice test 2 and just like practice test 1. It's going to look just like the test you get on Thursday. Any of you who have extended time and you know go fill out the form and all that stuff, I need that paperwork tomorrow. I know I don't see you, but you can bring it to me. All right, I gotta have it tomorrow if you have extended time. Like hold that up so they know what I'm talking about. One of those deals right there. Okay?
Do you know how long our class is on Thursday?
I have no idea.
I can check. I think so.
I always forget about that.
It's a regular class period.
Yeah, 45 minutes.
Oh, wait, when?
So that's fine, that's fine. This test is easily done. We did the practice test yesterday in 31 minutes. And I know that's me, and you may take you a little bit longer, but still, that's with all my talking and everything too. All right, here we go. Number 1, which property is shown? A. Say it louder so the video picks it up. Distributive, yep. B.
Where is it?
We are on practice test 3. No, yes, B is commutative. Why is B commutative of addition? Make sure you put both parts, commutative and addition. Why? What changed in problem B? The order. On one side, it's 5xy. On the other side, it's xy 5. The order's different. When the order's different, it is commutative of addition. And what's C? Additive identity. Very good. Very, very good. Now, 2A. If, okay, what kind of equation is this? Quadratic. And with quadratics, you have 3 options. You get to pick. Notice the directions don't say do it this way, this way, or this way. It says do it any way you want. So what are your 3 options to solve a quadratic equation? Quadratic formula, factor, complete the square. So whatever looks like it'll work for you on this one. Now, you will have a calculator to use tomorrow. I mean, you'll bring your own calculator on the test. So the fact these are big numbers, like there's a 27 in there, that's a little scary. Don't worry, you'll have a calculator. All right? Anybody, how do you want to do this? It actually does factor. I knew that was it actually does factor. But some of you aren't very good at factoring or very comfortable factoring. You know, the old cases were so much better than these new ones. These new ones are so flimsy. Did you bump it? Is that what happened? I think I'm just going to blame you for everything. You know?
That's fair.
Pretzels and just everything. There we go. Okay. This one does factor, but if you're not very good at factoring, I'll also do it with the quadratic formula. I would never complete the square on this because I have to divide by 4, and that's just going to leave me with a ton of fractions. So I think this factor is like this. How does that look? This gives me a negative 28 and a positive 1. So that's how I get the negative 27. So my answers, if I'm thinking, just thinking here, should be negative 1/4 and 7. Now, I'm the teacher, so I see that factoring. It pops out at me. You might not see that, and you don't want to waste a bunch of time trying to figure it out. So you might do the quadratic formula, right? So x equals negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared. Anybody happen to know what 27 squared is off the top of your head?
729.
Minus 4 times a times c all over 2a. Now, when you simplify this, watch that double negative there. That's actually going to become a plus, right? So I have 729 plus 4 times 4 times 7. So that's 841. And the square root of 841, lo and behold, is 29. I knew that was going to come out like that because it factors. When the problem factors, the radical disappears. All right, so 27 plus 29, what is that? We're finding our two answers. 27 plus 29 is 56 over 8, which is 7. 27 minus 29 is negative 2 over 8, which is negative 1/4. So in the end, it doesn't matter how you do it whichever way works for you. All right, B. This was like your quiz question. What do you do?
Number 1.
Number line and positive 2.
Number line, positive 2, right in the middle of it.
5 and 1.
And then we count back and forth 3, so this way 3 would be 5, and this way 3 would be negative 1. Now we had a lot of trouble on the quiz getting shaded in the right spot, and I don't know about that. If that's a less than symbol, less than means the distance is less than, that means it's closer to, so we're going to shade inside. So our answer is all the numbers between negative 1 and 5. And why are those brackets? Because they're closed in dots. Now again, all this says is solve. There's no directions about, you have to do it this way, have to do it that way. Do it however you want. I like to get rid of the fractions. If I keep those fractions, I'm going to need common denominators and all that stuff. I'd rather just get rid of them. So to get rid of them, I'm going to multiply everything by something.
24.
And you're saying 24 because 24, over here too, 24 is the number that makes both 8 and 3 cancel. Distributing, I have 9x plus 3. Now what, this is tricky, that's a minus. So that's going to be minus 16x minus 8.
Yeah.
Girls, you following along there? Got to distribute that negative. And that equals 48. 2 times 24. So, how many x's do I have? Negative 7 minus 5 equals 48. So negative 7x equals 53, and x equals negative 53 sevenths. Any question about that page? All right, let's look at the next page. Now we have this problem, which is like the one that was on your quiz. How do we start that one? We factor it. And these will always be easy factoring problems, not kind of hard like that one we started with. So you're going to factor it. You're going to say x what?
Minus 5.
Okay, so you got that figured out. Now it's an inequality, and every time I have an inequality, I draw a number line. Now where will the dots go on this problem?
Negative 2 and 5.
At negative 2 and 5, and they are open. Right? Now what do we do?
Pick a number.
Pick a number. Any number except these two.
0.
So you could pick 0. Now what's happening sometimes is you're picking 0 and you're plugging it in, but you're not paying attention to where 0 is on the number line. 0 is in here, right? So this is the space you're checking. So when I plug 0 in, I get negative 5 times 2, which is negative 10. Is negative 10 bigger than 0? No. So this section didn't work, which means these will. My answer is negative infinity to negative 2 and 5 to infinity. Next, different problem. It's not an inequality, so we are not going to do any number line stuff. What are we going to do with
Square
this? Square both sides. And if we square a square root, we just get the thing. So I got 31. All right, I'm going to check that. These kinds of problems I always have to check. So I'll put it back in the original, put it right in here in the original. Is that going to be true? Yep. So 31 is your answer. Now suppose Mrs. Ford gets wild and wacky on the test, and I give you a problem like this. The first thing you're going to do is subtract 5. Right? And then it'll look like this one, and you could square both sides. But first you're going to subtract the 5. Yes?
So if this like a 2 in front of the x, do we divide the
You do.
3?
Well, no. If the 2 is out here, you're going to divide, first you're going to subtract the 5, and then you're going to divide both sides by 2. An outside number won't impact the inside number. Now, what you might be thinking of, it won't happen here, but we have had problems like this, where the 2 has been on the inside, and then it affects every number, including the inside number. That will never happen with these. You'll never do that with these. All right, and then we've got C. What's our strategy with C?
Factor by grouping.
Factor by grouping. And that means what? Colleen, you with back there? What's that mean I have to do?
You have to like take one x out. And like so it's gonna be like you take one x out, it's gonna be like x and then
Now what am I going to take out of here?
2 out of 2.
I'm gonna take out x squared, right. Maybe that's what you said, I'm having a hard time hearing. And then what do you want me calling in to take out of these last two?
9.
A negative 9. I'm gonna pull out that negative. And what happens when I take a negative 9 out of a positive 18? Leaves me with a negative 2?
Yeah.
And our rule says these two have to match, which they do. So I can write them down. And then I have x squared minus 9 left. And what about x squared minus 9? It is the difference of squares. So what are my answers? There's 3 of them. This is an x cubed problem, so there's going to be 3 answers. X equals what?
-3, 2, 3.
Exactly. You put those in any order. You're not putting them on the number line. This is not an inequality. You put them in any order you want. Those are the 3 answers to the question. Okay, everybody still with me? All right, now we've got some imaginary numbers to deal with, some i's. So 4 plus 6i minus 4 plus 7i. Here we go. What do you want to do? Step 1.
Cancel out the 4s.
Well, they will cancel, but I think before I do that, I'm going to get rid of those parentheses. They are going to cancel, so I'm going to go ahead and distribute to get rid of the parentheses. Is that okay with everybody? I'm a little scared to collect like terms when I still have parentheses. So I'll get rid of them first. Now, they do cancel, and all I have left is answers negative I. That's all that's left. Okay. Now what? Next problem. Where do we go?
Multiply by the opposite of the denominator.
So what am I multiplying by, Chris?
2 minus 3i.
2 minus 3i. It's called the conjugate. And I have to do it on the top and the bottom. So it's the conjugate of this denominator right here, multiplied on the top and the bottom. Now what? Foil, foil, foil. Yep, just start foiling. Here we go. On the top, foil. First outside, inside, last. First, outside, inside, last. And on the bottom, first, outside, inside, last.
Return I squared.
Ashanti, you come here a second. Okay, what do I do? Have you guys figured it out? Are you done? What'd you get? Combine like terms. And when we combine like terms, you gotta remember this is really a what? Negative 6. So we have a 16 and a negative 6. That's gonna leave me with a 10. Minus 28i. And then on the bottom, these two cancel. They always will. That's why you do what you do. And this becomes a
Plus
+9, which leaves me with a
13.
13. Now, I started to get excited when I saw a 10 and a 28, because I thought, oh boy, if my denominator would come out to be something like a 12, then what could I do?
Cancel everything.
I could cancel a 2 out of everything, right? But if I had had a 12 down there, but that was a 27, I would not cancel a 2 out of these two. Right? Because if you're going to cancel, it's got to be all 3s. 3 or nothing, all or nothing. All right, any questions on that page?
The top was just 4i, but the bottom was like the same, then you wouldn't boil that, so how would you do that?
If the top were what?
If it was just like 4 over 2 plus 3i.
You would still multiply the top and bottom by 2 minus 3i, but then if this was just a 4, it would just be a distribute on the top. You just take 4 times both of those two things. Does that make sense? All right, now we're going to simplify. Okay, so what do you want to do first? I know what I want to do first.
Simplify the 8 and 28.
No, I want to move
Well, we
those.
can simplify the 8 and 28. That would be what?
2 7.
2 and 7.
Move the negatives.
We got negatives all over the place, right?
Mhm.
So let's deal with those. So, oh, this is going to be tricky because this comes down, but that goes up. This comes down, but that stays there. So if I have 3 and I bring 8 down, that would be y to the 11th. You okay with that?
Yep.
Now, we're not quite done. We have one more thing to do.
2x with it.
These guys need to cancel, right?
Mhm.
You don't want to have 2 x's in your problem, or 2 y's. You don't want to have that. So let's see, who has more, the top or the bottom?
Top,
How many more?
5.
So we have 2x to the 5th on the top, and 7y to the 11th on the bottom. Number 6, don't even have to show any work, just write the answer. X
Plus 4.
plus 4 squared plus y
Plus 3.
plus 3 squared equals 6. What goes there? R squared. If the radius is root 6, you're going to square root 6 and you just get 6. That is how we write the equation of a circle. That's all there is to it. Now we want the line containing 3, -2, and 6, 4. Now write the equation of the line. Okay, so I say line and you think y equals mx plus b. So John, what do we need to do? Well, we can do point slope, but before we can do anything, we have to find the slope. So no matter how you do it, you need the slope, right? Joseph, you awake?
Yeah, I'm awake.
All right. How do we find the slope, Joseph?
Y minus y1 over x minus x1.
So 4 minus -2, 4 minus -2 over 6 minus 3.
Yeah.
So 4 minus -2, 6. 6 minus 3 is 3. So my slope is 2. Now, you can either point slope or slope intercept. It does not matter. We need to write the equation of our line. So if you do y equals mx plus b, this is slope intercept, but you can do a point slope. What's my point? I'll use 6, 4. So 4 equals 2 times 6 plus b. I'm using this x and this y and this m. So I got b equals -8. John, did you point slope and get that same thing?
I just copied.
You just copied down what I wrote? Oh, John. So y minus 4 equals 2 times x minus 6. So if I add 4, I'm going to get y equals 2x minus 6. Yep. We should always get the same answer. You do not have to do it both ways. Just one way, whatever's your favorite. All right. Now look at B. Again, I'm writing the equation of a line, but this time it contains the point 1, 2, and it's perpendicular to this line. Okay? Now, what do? I get y by itself. And y, Austin Kendrick, would I want to get y by itself? Because if I get y by itself, I will be able to tell the slope of this line. And why is that important to me? I need the slope of this line to figure out the slope of the line I'm writing, right? Yeah. So I'll get y by itself, I'll move the 3x over and I'll divide by -9. So what is the slope of my given line? This line right here, what's the slope of it?
3 or 1/3.
1/3 is the slope. Now yesterday, we used 1/3. Why? What did the problem say yesterday? Parallel. And when it says parallel, we use the same. But this one says perpendicular, which means I'll use the negative reciprocal of that, which will be what? -3. So I'm going to use the slope of -3 with this point right here. So here we go. Y equals mx plus b. 2 equals -3 times 1 plus b. Looks like b equals 5. That's not the answer. Don't put it in the answer blank. What goes in the answer blank? Y equals -3x plus 5. Any question on that page? All right, one page to go and we're done. This is our ball problem, the ball up in the air, projectile motion. So our equation is this. And A says write the equation for this particular problem. Now remember, for your purposes, if it's less confusing, you can call this H. Height. That's what it is. It's the height. I have physically written the S of T there, so we'll just leave that there. But now plug in the numbers from this problem. What does this problem say? What's your initial velocity? 100. So that goes in right here. That's going to be 100 T. What is your initial height? Remember, this number is initial height. 0. Why is the initial height 0? Start on the ground. You're starting at ground level. So I'm not even going to put that in there because it confuses me. That's A. That's the equation for this problem. Your equation is going to be this with the numbers plugged in. So we plug them in. How high is the ball after 1 second? How high is the ball after 1 second? Now remember, this is like H. So you have height and you have time. What are you going to do with the 1 second? That goes in for T. So in we go. Our height will be -16 times 1 squared plus 100 times 1. If we want to know how tall this ball is, we just plug in 1. And I got, what, 84? So the answer to B is 84 feet. Paul?
It says the initial velocity is 100 feet per 1 second. So why wouldn't the ball be 100 feet after 1 second?
Gravity. Slowing it down. When does the ball hit the ground? Okay, so we're coming back to this equation now. When does the ball hit the ground? Remember, every question you will either be given H or T. Okay, so the ball's on the ground. What do you know about it? It's at 0. Its height is 0. We're not talking about plugging 0 in. We're not letting T be 0. We're letting the height be 0. What kind of equation is that one? That bottom equation right there. What kind of equation is that? It's got a squared in it. It's quadratic. If you wanted to, could you use the quadratic formula on that problem?
Yes.
Yes. Now you know what I'll do. If I can shrink it down, I'm going to shrink it. So I'm going to divide everything by -4. What did somebody just say? Something important, I think.
I said it was 0, B, or C.
Yep. So 0 equals 4t squared minus 25t. And then, was it you, Ethan, that said that? Ethan said, I'm missing a last number. Remember 0, ground level? So my C, if I'm using the quadratic formula, my C is just going to be 0. Now, I don't want you to, that will work. That will work every time, you guys. The quadratic formula will work on every quadratic problem. But this one also factors. Because there's no number on the end, I can take a t out. And so t is 0, or t is 25/4. Now, you are going to get the same answers if you use the quadratic formula. Now, what was the question? When is the ball on the ground? Does it make sense that one of the answers is 0?
Yeah.
Yes, because remember, the ball started on the ground. So at time 0, at the very beginning, it's on the ground, and then it goes up and comes down again at 25/4, and those are seconds. Two more, and these are the easy ones.
So for that one, you need to put both answers.
Yes, both answers work this time. They both make sense. Yes, Aisha?
I did the, I got 2.5.
You got 2.5?
Yeah.
Okay. So would be plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. So we get 25 plus or minus, okay, this is just going to be 0, so that's going to say 625, so that's 25 over 8. So we get 25 plus 25, which is 50 over 8, or 25 over 4. And then we get 25 minus 25, which is 0 over 8, or 0. All right, how do we find distance and midpoint? Here we go. First thing we learned, last thing on the test. Distance and midpoint. How do we do distance? It is the radical. Okay, you need to know that. Ms. Ford's not going to be whispering in your ear on Thursday. You need to know you're using the radical. So the distance is -4 minus -2 squared and 1 minus 4 squared. I subtract my x's, subtract my y's, square them, add them together, and take the square root. Now, you do need to be careful with your arithmetic. -4, +2. -2 squared 4. When you square something, it's positive, unless it's I. 1 minus 4, -3 squared 9. The answer is root 13. Now remember, if that one comes out to be a reducible radical, like what if it came out to be root 20, then you would need to break that down into 2 root 5. You don't have to break down this one, it doesn't break down. Midpoint, same 2 points. How do we find the midpoint? We average them. So -4 and -2 divided by 2, and 1 and 4 divided by 2. I add them together and divide by 2. So -4 plus -2 is -6. Over 2 is -3. 1 plus 4 is 5/2. There is your midpoint. Any question about that page? So everyone is completely clear on what this test looks like, right?
Yeah.
And you know when we come back together again, we're taking the test. On your own, you'll be ready. Emily,
Can I use the restroom?
is it an absolute emergency?
Yes. I'll be back really quickly.
All right, hurry up.
I'll time her.
It just kills me. I say it all the time. 57 years old, had 4 kids, had cancer, and I can hold it. I don't get it why you guys can't do that, but whatever. Okay.
Are you talking?
Now we got to start on, because I don't see you anymore for a while. We need to start on 1.1. So we're not going to get very much done, and I'm going to take the last few minutes of class to give you a couple of random problems to get you back on track. But we need to start our next lesson. So the last page of your last note sheet, down at the bottom, it says 1-1, and it refers you to your textbook. Alright, so let me say that again. We're back in our note sheets. We have finished the practice test. We are back in our note sheets. We are on page 81. Actually, it's 82. and we're going to do problem 12, A and B. This is a word problem, and I didn't feel like recopying it. That's why I just referred you to the page number.
I'm lost on, yeah.
Okay. Our note sheets that we have been using all along. The old note sheets.
Okay.
The old note sheets. There is one little problem left, or two problems left at the bottom. We're going to fill those in. Then you can put this in your notebook and get out the new note sheets that I gave you today. But this is on your last set of note sheets. The ones we've been using every day this year. Down at the very bottom, it says page 81, number 12. Okay? If you can't find that, just get out a piece of paper at the top, write page 81, number 12. Here we go. According to the numerical model, what has been the trend in males joining the workforce since 1954? All right, we are on page 82, actually. I said 81, but the problem's on 82. And the numerical model they're referring to is table 1.6. Look at the male column. What do you notice about the male column? It's going down. So it appears that the number of males working is decreasing. Question B. In what 5-year interval did the percentage of men who were employed change the most? All right, so you got to look at all the intervals there. And like from 54 to 59, it went down 1.2. Do you see what I'm talking about? So we got to find the one where it goes down the most. So you just got to kind of look down.
69 to 84.
79 to 84 is one suggestion. That is what, 3.3?
84 to 84.
99 to 04.
99 to 04.
That's
2.1, so that's a little bit less.
69 to 74.
69 to 74 is 3.2. What did I say 79 to 84 was? 3.3. So those are really close, but I think it's 79 to 84 is the biggest drop. Now, what's the purpose of doing that problem? You need to be able to look at data and make conclusions based on it. Okay? All right, so the next one we'll do is number 20. Yesterday was Dr. Beer's birthday, and you forgot. So you're going to go down to the bakery tonight, and you're going to buy him a birthday cake. Your choices are what? What are the two kinds of cake they have? They have a 9 by 13 cake. I'm sure your mom makes those all the time in your 9 by 13 pan. Right?
Yep.
Or you can have a round layer cake. Notice the problem says the round cake is twice as tall. So it's a layer cake, it's stacked. And it has a 13-inch diameter. Now these are your two choices.
This board is 8-inch diameter.
Oh, it's an 8-inch diameter? Oh, thank you, 8-inch diameter. You are on it, thank you. It's an 8-inch diameter. They cost the same. So you want to buy him the most cake. Which cake is going to give you the most cake? How in the world are we going to figure this out?
We'd use the formula to find the volume.
The volume. wait a minute, the volume, we want the volume of these things, because isn't the volume the actual amount that you have? Okay, so let's look at this cake, and they didn't tell us how thick it was, so let's just make it 1 inch thick. And we're allowed to do that, as long as we make this one then 2 inches thick. Now, you don't have to use 1 and 2. You could use 2 and, no, not 2 and 3, 2 and 4, or 3 and 6. You can use any thickness you want, as long as you make this one twice as much as that one. 1 and 2 are simplest, so I'm just going to use 1 and 2. All right, volume. This is a rectangle, a rectangular solid. How do we find the volume of a rectangular solid? Length times width times height. So the volume for this one will be 9 times 13 times 1, which is 117, if I multiplied right, cubic inches. Volume, cubic inches. Length times width times height. Inches, 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 cubic inches. So for this kind of cake, you're going to get 117 cubic inches of food. All right, let's go down to our layer cake. Now, obviously, I'm not a very good drawer. A layer cake would look like this, right? What shape is that? That is not a rectangular solid. That's a cylinder. Who remembers how to find the volume of a cylinder? Anybody besides Gabby? Not that I don't want to hear from Gabby, but I'm hearing a lot from Gabby. Can I hear from somebody else? Nope. It's got a radius in it. It's got a radius in it. It's got a height in it. And it's got a pi in it.
There we go.
It's got a pi, a radius squared, and a height. That is how we find the volume of a cylinder. Now, what's that 8? Diameter. So radius would be 4. So I have 16, 4 squared. And then my height was 2. So I don't know, that's 32 pi. But I need to compare that to 117. So I'm going to type it in on my calculator. 32 pi. And I got 100.5 cubic inches. So that cake's probably prettier. But if you're going for the most economical, you're going to buy this one. Would you everybody agree with that? Okay, Joseph's holding his head's gonna explode. All right, let's try one from the new note sheet. Only because these are going to help us on our test. These are kind of review problems. We're not going to do a bunch of them, I promise. We'll do a couple quick review questions. Here we go. This actually could be a test question. Because what kind of an equation is that? I'm on my new note sheets now. It's a quadratic. Now, this kind of mixes two of our concepts. Marley, you get out at 2:15.
Okay.
Now, this is a quadratic, but it also contains a fraction. And we've got both of those concepts on our test. I would probably get rid of the fraction before I started doing the problem. so I didn't have to mess with it. And how would I get rid of that fraction? Multiply everything by 3. So 3 times x, 3 times 4, 3 times 1/3. Is that okay with everybody? And then I would jump in with my quadratic formula, which is on our test, so let's practice it. X equals negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. This is good practice. If you don't multiply through by 3, do you see how you're going to have fractions in here? That would be icky. Let's divide by, or multiply by 3. Get rid of the fraction. Now, I got my double negative. That happens to me a lot, so that's going to become a plus. So underneath there, I have the square root of 156. Is that arithmetic okay with everyone? 144 and 12. Now, what about 156? I bet it breaks down. I'll divide it by 2. 78, 2 times 78. 78 divided by 2 is 39. And 39 is 3 times 13. So I got 2 2s. So I've got 12 plus or minus 2 root 39 over 6. This is one of the ones we've been talking about. Finally happened. That's not my final answer, because what do I notice? I got a 12, a 2, and a 6. So my final answer will be 6 plus or minus root 39 over 3. What did I do? I took a 2 out of everything. I don't mess with the 39. It's under a radical. It's off limits. That might happen on your test tomorrow. You just never know. Okay? We're going to do one more on the sheet, and then we're going to do a review problem of your choice. So here we go. Letter B, last one. What do you suggest we do first? I heard somebody say something. Oil. So this side I'm leaving alone for the time being. This is going to be x squared minus 2x plus x minus 2 plus 5x. Let's clean up this mess over here. What have we got over here? This is not part of the problem.
X squared minus x minus 4x.
What do we have? X squared
Minus 4x. Plus 4x.
Plus 4x. You have a negative 2, a positive 1, and a 5. So that makes 4 minus 2. That's a funny looking quadratic equation. What should I do with that?
What terms?
Let's move everything over. So I'll subtract x squared. That's gone. I'll subtract 4x. Now be careful. I'm subtracting 4x. Not adding it. I'm subtracting it. So I have a negative 4 and a negative 4. And I'm going to add 2. That could be on your test, that question right there. I don't know if I've got you programmed or not, but first thing I'm gonna do is divide everything by 2. You do not have to do that, but it makes my numbers smaller. This does not factor. That's okay, lots of them don't factor. What do we do when it doesn't factor? Quadratic formula, or complete the square. This one would be easy to complete the square on also. But I'll use the formula, and that's what most of you do, right, is the formula? So x equals negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over, oh my gosh, this is another one that's going to be good fun. I do not have a double negative this time, so I'll be subtracting 16 minus 8, which is 8. And 8 breaks down 4 and 2, which is 2 and 2. So 2 root 2. Now what about that? Everything's cancelable by 2. So I end up with 2 plus or minus root 2 as my final answer. So yesterday I couldn't get one to come out cancelable. And today we got 2 in a row. Good job. Okay? All right. Set that aside. Put that away. We won't use that again until another day.
Next week.
Well, I don't know if I see you Friday, maybe. I don't know if I see you Friday or not. Okay, now, I'm not letting you go early. We have 5 minutes. We have a test tomorrow, or next time I see you. What is something we need to practice? Emily?
One of those problems with the negative 16t squared, like the height velocity problem.
What?
All right, so I don't have time to write it all out, so I'm just going to say it. Here is my general formula. This will be given to you on the test.
That will be?
Yes,
Okay.
this is given to you. You do not have to memorize that. And then the problem will say something like, a ball is thrown off the top of a building 10 feet high with an initial velocity of 20 feet per second. Okay? And then on the practice test, step 1 is write the equation. Okay? That's this, with these numbers put in. Okay? So, if that's the situation, we're going to have negative 16t squared always. That doesn't change. Now, where do I put the 10 and the 20? We're throwing it from the top of the building, 10 feet tall, and the initial velocity is 20 feet per second.
10 goes to S.
So the 10 goes here, and the 20 goes here. So it's going to be plus 20t plus 10. That would be my equation. And I get those numbers by reading the problem. Just read the problem. Okay. Then there's a question, I'm thinking of the practice test, that says, how high after 2 seconds? Something like that. How high is the ball after 2 seconds? So what do we do to answer that question? We put 2 into t. So the height, remember this is the height, will be negative 16 times 4, 2 squared, plus 20 times 2 is 40, plus 10, oh crap, I didn't plan very well. Remember, I made this problem up like on the spur of the moment. I'm going to get a negative answer, but that's how you do it. Okay, that's how you do it. And then the third question that goes with those is, when will it be on the ground? Isn't that what they've usually said? When will it be on the ground? So what do we do? When will it be on the ground? Go back to this equation. You put 0 here. Now, what if it said, when will it be 80 feet high? then you put 80 here, right? Whatever the height is, you put it here. Okay, Emily, does that make sense to you now?
Yes, it does.
All right, we have time for one more. What's one more kind of question that you're pondering? You don't have to complete the square on the test. Look at the practice test. That's what you have to know how to do. Now, can you complete the square if you want to? Oh, sure, but you don't have to. Anything else you can think of? Baylor? Absolute value or the factoring one? Okay. Girls, we have one more problem to do, okay? Let's be quiet and then you can go. We have x squared minus 8x minus 9 greater than 0. Alright, so what's step one with this kind of problem? This was on your quiz yesterday. Factors. These will always, on the test, I'll make sure it factors pretty easily. Minus 9 plus 1. Bailey, you with me still? So I draw my number line, and my two open dots will be at -1 and +9. Always the opposite. Even when it's absolute value, we still put the dot at the opposite, okay? Then I'll pick a number, and I like 0. 0's in here. If I put 0 in, I get 1 times -9, which is -9. I put 0 here and got 1. I put 0 here and got -9. I'm timesing them. Is -9 greater than 0? No. So this didn't work, which means this and this do work. So my answer is everything from -infinity to -1, or from 9 to infinity. All right, boys and girls, I'll see you on Thursday. Have a great day. If you have your yellow sheet, great, I'll take it now. If you don't, bring it tomorrow.